The first time I almost told Ava Martinez I loved her, she was standing barefoot in our apartment hallway wearing a dark green dress that made my brain forget how doors worked. I had one hand on the refrigerator handle, the other holding a carton of oat milk, and I just stood there like a man who had been unplugged from the wall. She turned once in front of the little mirror by the coat rack and frowned. Too much? I should have said something casual, something roommate safe, like something like, looks nice, then gone back to pretending I cared about cereal. Instead, I said, you look beautiful. Ava's eyes met mine in the mirror. For 1 second, everything in our apartment went quiet. The humming refrigerator, the traffic outside, the upstairs neighbor's dog doing its nightly tap dance routine. Then she smiled. Not her normal smile, not the one she used when she beat me at Scrabble by inventing words that somehow turned out to be real. This one was slower, smaller, like she'd caught me doing something I'd sworn I wasn't doing. You didn't mean the dress, she said. And just like that, the safest lie in my life cracked right down the middle. My name is Caleb Brooks. I was 31 years old, a freelance graphic designer, and at the time, I had a very strict personal policy against falling in love with women who could hear me trip over laundry baskets at midnight, especially when that woman paid half the rent. Ava had moved into my spare bedroom 8 months earlier after my cousin bailed on our lease to move in with a woman he'd known for 11 days. I had needed a roommate fast. Ava needed a place after her breakup with a man who apparently thought emotional availability was something you ordered separately, like guacamole. A mutual friend connected us. She's quiet, my friend said. That was the first lie. Ava was not quiet. Ava sang badly while making coffee, talked to her plants like they were underperforming employees, and once argued with a parking meter for taking her quarter and giving her nothing but disrespect. She was 29, worked as a pastry chef at a small bakery in Reno, and could make a lemon tart so good it briefly made me believe in organized religion. She also had a way of looking at people that made them confess things. I learned that fast. On her third night living with me, she found me eating cold pizza over the sink at 1 in the morning and asked, "Are you always this glamorous, or is this for my benefit?" I said, "I didn't want to intimidate you too early." She took the slice from my hand, took a bite, and said, "Too late. I'm overwhelmed." That was how it started. Small jokes, shared leftovers, her bakery schedule overlapping with my insomnia. She'd come home smelling like sugar and butter, kick off her shoes, and tell me stories about customers who asked if croissants were supposed to have layers. I'd tell her about clients who wanted logos that were modern but also ancient, and blue but emotionally warmer. Somewhere along the way, we became each other's end-of-day person. Not officially, never out loud. That was the problem. I had rules, good rules, sensible rules. Don't date your roommate. Don't fall for someone still healing from a breakup. Don't confuse domestic comfort with love just because she knows how you take your coffee and once bought the good brand of laundry detergent without being asked. But rules are a lot easier to respect when the person across the hall doesn't come home laughing at midnight with flour on her cheek and say, "Don't look at me like that, Brooks. I fought a baguette and lost." So I got good at looking away. Until the dress. The dress was for her ex-boyfriend's engagement party. Yes, you heard that correctly. Her ex, Jordan, had invited her because people with spotless teeth and no shame do things like that. Apparently, he was marrying the woman he'd started emotionally connecting with while still living with Ava. Ava had laughed when she told me, not a real laugh, the kind people use when they've decided they'd rather be funny than honest. "I'm going," she said 2 weeks earlier, standing at the kitchen island and rolling cookie dough between her palms. "I refuse to be the sad ex-girlfriend who hides." "You could also refuse to attend the emotional circus," I said. She pointed a dough-covered finger at me. "That sounds like something a sad ex-girlfriend who hides would say. That sounds like something a man with common sense would say. Common sense is overrated. So is being mature in public." She smiled at that, but I saw the flicker underneath. Hurt, pride, the old wound pretending it had scarred over. I almost offered to go with her then. Almost. But I didn't trust myself. I knew exactly how I'd behave if I had to stand next to her while Jordan acted like losing her had been a minor scheduling conflict. So I said nothing, and now here she was, the night of the party, standing in our hallway looking like every bad decision I had spent 8 months not making. The dress had thin straps, a soft neckline, and a slit that wasn't dramatic until she moved. Her dark hair was swept to one side, showing the curve of her neck and a small gold earring I'd never seen before. She touched it self-consciously. My sister said these made me look expensive. They do. Good. I'm going for emotionally stable but financially intimidating. That's a strong brand? I thought so. She turned from the mirror and faced me. So? So what? Is it too much? No. Caleb? What? She tilted her head. You're doing that thing. What thing? The thing where you answer like there's a lawyer present. I put the oat milk back in the fridge and closed it, mostly so I could do something with my hands. It's not too much. Her eyes narrowed with playful suspicion. That's still not an answer. It's the answer I'm legally prepared to give. Ava laughed, and the sound hit me in the ribs. Then her smile faded just a little. You really think I look okay? There it was, the soft part beneath the armor. I leaned back against the counter and tried to keep my voice steady. Ava, you don't look okay. You look like the kind of woman a man regrets losing for the rest of his life. Her lips parted. I realized too late what I'd said. Not funny, not safe, not roommate approved. The air changed between us. Ava took one slow step towards me, see. The hallway light caught the green of her dress, and for a second she looked less like someone going to a party and more like someone standing at the edge of a question. That was dangerously close to sincere, she said. I've been known to slip. Only with me? I swallowed. Mostly with you. She looked down, smiling like she didn't want to, then back up at me. That was when I said she looked beautiful. And that was when she said, You didn't mean the dress. I could have denied it. I should have denied it. Instead, I looked at her standing 3 feet away from me, wearing perfume that smelled like vanilla and orange peel, looking braver than she felt, and I got tired of being careful. No, I said quietly. I didn't. Her smile disappeared, not in a bad way, in a way that made my heart start acting like it had somewhere urgent to be. Ava stepped closer, close enough that I could see the tiny shimmer at the corner of her eyeshadow, close enough that if I lifted my hand I could touch her waist. You know, I was hoping you'd say that, she whispered. My whole body went still. What? She gave a nervous little laugh and looked toward the front door like it might save her from what she'd just admitted. I tried on 3 dresses. Okay. I came out here because I wanted your opinion. That's normal. No. She looked back at me. I came out here because I wanted you to look at me the way you just did. There are moments in life when a man discovers he has been both blind and arrogant. Blind because he didn't see what was right in front of him. Arrogant because he assumed he was the only one suffering nobly in silence. I said her name, but it came out rough. Ava? She hugged her arms around herself, suddenly shy in a way I had never seen from her. Don't make that face. What face? The one where you're about to do the responsible thing. I almost laughed, but it got stuck in my chest. I'm trying very hard not to. Good, she said, because I'm tired of both of us pretending this apartment doesn't feel different when the other one comes home. That sentence landed so deep I couldn't answer right away. Outside, a car passed with music thumping low through the glass. Inside, neither of us moved. Then her phone lit up on the entry table, Jordan. The name sat there like a stain. Ava glanced at it, and the softness in her face tightened. He's downstairs, she said. Of course he was. The man had ruined her peace once already. Apparently he had a gift for timing. She reached for her little black purse, but her hand hesitated halfway there. I watched the battle cross her face. The pride that told her to go, the hurt that told her to run, and something newer that kept her standing in front of me. Then she looked at me. Not like a roommate, not like a friend. Like the next thing I said might change the entire night. Caleb, she said, barely above a whisper, tell me not to open that door. Tell me not to open that door. Ava said it like a dare, like a plea, like she had handed me a match and was waiting to see whether I'd light the fuse or blow it out. Her phone buzzed again on the entry table, Jordan. I didn't look at it this time. I looked at her. If I tell you that, I said, it can't be because he's downstairs. Her brow creased. What does that mean? It means I'm not interested in being the man who blocks a door because another man is on the other side. I took a breath. I'll tell you not to open it if you want to stay. Ava's eyes softened. That's annoyingly mature. I'm as surprised as you are. The corner of her mouth lifted, but her voice was quiet when she asked, what if I don't know what I want? I stepped closer, slow enough that she could move away if she wanted. She didn't. The apartment seemed smaller than it had 5 minutes ago. Warmer, too. The air between us felt full of all the ordinary things that had betrayed us. Her mug beside mine in the sink, my hoodie folded over the chair because she liked wearing it on cold mornings, the ridiculous magnet shaped like a taco she'd bought because she said our fridge had no personality. I reached for her hand, just her hand, but when my fingers closed around hers, her breath caught like I'd touched something far more intimate. Then don't decide for Jordan, I said. Don't decide for pride. Don't decide for the version of you that thinks she has to prove she survived him. I rubbed my thumb once over her knuckles. Decide for you. Ava looked at our hands. Then she whispered, that's the problem. What is? For the first time in months, I think deciding for me might mean staying right here. The phone buzzed a third time. This time, Ava reached for it. My stomach dropped before I could stop it, but she only picked it up, pressed the side button until the screen went dark, and set it face down on the table. Then she looked back at me. I'm not going. The words were simple. The effect was not. Something shifted in her posture like a string had been cut. Her shoulders lowered, her chin stopped pretending it didn't tremble, and suddenly she wasn't the woman dressed for battle. She was Ava, barefoot in our hallway, brave enough to change her mind. I smiled before I could help it, and do I need to make an official note for the emotional circus? Yes, she lifted her chin. Dear Circus, the sad ex-girlfriend has elected to eat snacks in a superior location. I'll draft it immediately. With legal language? Obviously. Her laugh came out shaky, and I wanted to kiss it steady. That thought must have shown on my face because her smile faded again. Not gone. Just waiting. Caleb, she said. Yeah? If I stay, I don't want to spend the night pretending you didn't just look at me like that. My pulse hammered once. What do you want to do? She took a step closer. I want you to stop being so careful. I stared at her mouth. A terrible mistake. A wonderful mistake. Ava, if I stop being careful, I'm going to kiss you. Her lashes flickered. I know. I mean really kiss you. I was hoping you weren't planning to be mediocre about it. I laughed under my breath, and that was what broke the last of my restraint. I lifted my hand to her cheek. Her skin was warm. So warm that for a second I forgot everything except the fact that she leaned into my palm like she had been waiting for it. Tell me no if… Caleb. What? If you ask for consent one more time, I'm going to develop a complex. You're saying yes? She rose onto her toes, her lips a breath from mine. I'm saying please. So I kissed her. Not like a roommate, not like a friend, like I had been translating every almost touch, every too long glance, every late-night conversation in the kitchen, and finally found the language. Ava made a soft sound against my mouth and gripped the front of my shirt. The kiss started careful despite her complaint because some part of me still knew this mattered too much to rush. But then she kissed me back like she was done with careful too, and the hallway, the party, the phone, the entire city outside our window fell away. My hand found her waist. Her dress was smooth beneath my palm. She was softer than I'd imagined, and I had imagined enough to feel guilty about it. She backed into the wall with a little gasp, pulling me with her. I broke the kiss immediately. Sorry, are you… She caught my face in both hands. If you apologize for kissing me into a wall, I swear I'll move out on principle. That seems extreme. I'm a passionate woman. I'm aware. Her eyes sparkled. Are you? God help me. I kissed her again. This time, she smiled into it, and somehow that was worse. Better. Both. Her fingers slid into my hair, and my hand tightened at her waist before I remembered to breathe like a civilized person. When we finally separated, we stayed close, forehead to forehead, her hands on my chest, my thumb tracing the side seam of that dangerous green dress. For a while, neither of us said anything. Then Ava whispered, I thought I made it up. What? This. She tapped one finger lightly against my sternum. You, me. The way it felt sometimes. You didn't. I told myself you were just kind. I'm not that kind. She laughed softly. I brushed my thumb along her cheek. I told myself you needed a friend. I did. I know. But not only a friend, she said. There it was again. That brave honesty. The thing I loved most about her, even when it scared me. I wanted to be more, I admitted, for a while. How long is a while? I considered lying to preserve what remained of my dignity. Then I looked at her mouth and decided dignity was overrated. Since you stole pizza from me over the sink. Ava blinked. Then she burst out laughing. That was my third night here. I'm aware. You've been emotionally compromised for 8 months? I prefer quietly doomed. She laughed harder, tipping forward until her forehead landed against my chest. I wrapped my arms around her because I could now. Because she let me. Because she fit there with a terrifying ease. After a moment, her laughter faded. Her voice came muffled against my shirt. I don't want to mess this up. The fear in her words sobered me. I held her a little tighter. Neither do I. We live together. I noticed. If this goes badly, then we handle it like adults. She lifted her head. Have you met us? Fair point. We handle it like semi-functional adults with access to takeout. That earned me a smile, but it didn't erase the worry. I tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. We don't have to decide everything tonight. We don't have to label it before midnight, but I don't want to pretend tomorrow that this didn't happen. Her eyes searched mine. You mean that? Yes. Because I can do slow, she said. I can do careful. I just can't do confused on purpose. The sentence hit me squarely. I bent and kissed her once, soft and certain. Then we won't. Ava exhaled like she had been holding that breath for months. Then her stomach growled. Loudly. We both looked down. She closed her eyes. That was not romantic. I disagree. Very human. Very vulnerable. I skipped dinner because of the dress. The dress is officially my enemy. She smirked. You didn't seem hostile toward it earlier. I have complicated feelings. I offered my hand. Stay in the dress. I'll make grilled cheese. Her eyes lit. Is that your seduction strategy? It has worked on exactly no one before tonight. Lucky for you, I'm vulnerable to melted cheddar. So we went to the kitchen hand in hand, like crossing that 10-foot stretch of apartment was a first date. Ava sat on the counter while I buttered bread. Her bare foot brushed my thigh once. Maybe by accident, maybe not. When I looked at her, she smiled. You're blushing, Brooks. I'm standing near a stove. That isn't on yet. Technicalities. She laughed and I leaned over to kiss her again because now I could. And because she looked at me like she wanted me to. Halfway through burning the first sandwich, her phone lit up again in the hallway. Neither of us moved. Ava looked toward it, then back at me. Let it ring, she said. So I did. And when the apartment filled with silence again, I kissed her in the kitchen, tasting butter and nerves, and the beginning of something we could no longer pretend was ordinary. By midnight, Ava was still in the green dress. I had burned 2 grilled cheese sandwiches, and our first date had somehow happened at our own kitchen island. I'm just saying, she said, picking a blackened corner off her bread. For a man who claims to be seducing me with cheddar, you have a reckless relationship with heat. I was distracted. By what? I gave her a look. Ava smiled into her sandwich. Oh, right. My devastating beauty. Your foot was on my leg? It slipped. 3 times? I have slippery feet. That's your defense? It's late, and I'm hungry. My legal team is asleep. She sat on the counter with her knees angled toward me, bare toes brushing the cabinet door. I stood between her and the stove, close enough that every time she laughed, I wanted to lean in and catch it with my mouth. So sometimes I did. That was the strangest part. Not kissing Ava. That felt terrifyingly natural. The strange part was permission. For 8 months, wanting her had been something I folded away. Now she'd take a bite of grilled cheese, glance at me, and I could step closer. I could touch her knee. I could kiss the corner of her mouth where a crumb had landed. The first time I did, she went still. Then she whispered, "You missed one." "There's another crumb?" "No." I kissed her properly after that, slowly. She set the plate aside and hooked one finger in the waistband of my jeans, tugging me closer. My hands settled on the counter on either side of her hips, caging her in without touching too much, because if I touched too much, I wasn't sure my brain would remain useful. Ava noticed. Of course she did. "You're doing the responsible face again," she murmured against my lips. "I only have one face?" "No, you have several. There's responsible face, client call face. I pretend not to care, but secretly do face. That one sounds specific. It gets a lot of use." Her fingers moved lightly over my chest. "And there's the face you made when I said, 'Please.'" My throat went dry. She looked pleased with herself. "You are dangerous," I said. "I wore the dress. You knew the risks." I laughed and rested my forehead against hers. For a while, we just stayed like that, breathing the same air, surrounded by the smell of butter and slightly murdered bread. Then Ava's smile faded. "What happens when we go to sleep?" My heart gave a hard, stupid kick. She must have seen the panic in my eyes because she swatted my chest. "Not like that. I mean, do we say goodnight and go to separate rooms like normal? Do we pretend we didn't spend the evening making out beside a frying pan?" "I don't want to pretend." "Me neither. But I also don't want you to feel rushed." Her expression softened. "I don't." "Good." "I feel scared," she admitted, "but not rushed." That was enough to stop every clever thing I might have said. Ava looked down at her hands. "After Jordan, I kept wondering if I'd missed all the signs. If I made myself easy to fool because I wanted to be loved so badly." She swallowed. "And then with you, I kept thinking, this feels safe. This feels real. But what if that's just me wanting something again?" I touched her chin gently, lifting her gaze to mine. "I can't promise I'll never hurt you by accident," I said. "I'm going to say the wrong thing sometimes. I'll probably forget important bakery drama names. I will definitely keep loading the dishwasher in a way you find morally offensive. You put bowls on the bottom rack, Caleb." "I'm a work in progress." Her mouth twitched. "But I won't make you feel foolish for wanting love," I said. "Not ever." Her eyes shone. She slid off the counter, landing close enough that her dress brushed my jeans. Then she wrapped her arms around my waist and pressed her cheek to my chest. I held her there. No performance, no heat. Just her body against mine and the quiet knowledge that she had trusted me with the softest part of the wound. After a minute, she said, "You remembered it was a bakery drama?" "I listen." "I know." Her voice was small. "That's part of the problem?" I kissed the top of her head. We turned off the kitchen lights and stood in the hallway outside our bedrooms like teenagers at the end of a date, except the date had happened 20 feet from where we paid utility bills. Ava leaned against her doorframe. "This is ridiculous." "Completely. We live here." "Unfortunately for dramatic tension, yes." She toyed with the strap of her purse, though she wasn't going anywhere now. "Ask me out." I blinked. "What?" "Properly." Her chin lifted. "If we're doing this, I want a date that doesn't involve you scraping carbon off bread." That was artisanal char. "Ask Brooks." I stepped closer. Ava Martinez, will you let me take you on a date tomorrow? Her smile bloomed slowly. Where? You're negotiating before accepting? I'm a modern woman. Dinner. Somewhere with candles and no smoke alarm? Ambitious. And afterward, if it goes well, I'll walk you all the way home. To our apartment? I'll take the scenic route through the mailboxes. She laughed, then reached up and straightened the collar of my shirt, even though it didn't need straightening. Yes, she said softly, I'll go on a date with you. It felt absurd how happy that made me. I bent to kiss her goodnight, intending one brief, responsible kiss. Ava had other ideas. She caught my shirt and pulled me down until my back hit the opposite wall with a quiet thud. Then she kissed me like she had been polite all night and was done with it. My hands found her waist again. Hers slid into my hair. The green dress whispered between us, and every sensible thought I owned packed a bag and left town. When she finally pulled back, her breathing wasn't steady. Neither was mine. That, she said, was for the burned sandwich. I feel rewarded for failure. Don't build a philosophy around it. She slipped into her room with one last smile, then closed the door. I stood in the hallway staring at the wood like an idiot. From the other side, she called, "Good night, Caleb." I smiled. "Good night, Ava." I slept badly. Not because I was worried, because I was happy in a way that made sleep seem like a waste of perfectly good consciousness. The next morning, I found Ava in the kitchen wearing my gray hoodie over pajama shorts, her hair piled messily on top of her head. She was making coffee and humming off key. The sight did something devastating to me. Yesterday, it would have been domestic torture. Today, it felt like a promise. She looked over her shoulder. "Morning date." "Morning roommate." Her eyes narrowed. "Try again." I crossed the kitchen, stopped beside her, and touched her waist. "Morning, Ava." "Better." I kissed her cheek. She turned her face at the last second, catching my mouth instead. Coffee sputtered in the machine beside us. "Careful," I murmured. "We're near hot liquids." "I live dangerously." "You have slippery feet. We established this." She laughed and handed me a mug. We drank coffee standing shoulder to shoulder, her hip leaning against mine. It was simple, almost painfully simple, and maybe that was why it felt bigger than the kisses. Because this was morning. This was after. This was choosing it again in daylight. Ava glanced at me over her mug. I should probably text Jordan. My body tensed before I could stop it. She noticed and nudged me with her elbow. Not for permission, for closure. "What are you going to say?" "That I'm sorry for not coming, but I'm not available for old performances anymore." I smiled. "That's good." "And then I'm blocking him for the day because I have a date with a man who owes me unburned dinner." "For the day?" She shrugged, playful but firm. "Maybe longer. Depends how good the candles are." She typed the message at the counter while I stood beside her, not touching, not hovering. When she sent it, she set the phone down and exhaled. Then she reached for my hand. I gave it to her. "Okay," she said, squeezing once while saying, "Now distract me." I lifted our joined hands and kissed her knuckles. "I can do that." Her phone buzzed before I could say anything else. Once, then again, then again. Ava looked down. Her smile disappeared. I didn't ask to see it. She showed me anyway. Jordan had sent 4 words. "You're making a mistake." Ava stared at the screen, then slowly looked at me. For one heartbeat, the old hurt flashed across her face. Then she turned the phone over, stepped into my arms, and pressed her forehead to my chest. "I'm not," she whispered. I wrapped myself around her. "No," I said, kissing her hair. "You're not." Ava stayed in my arms for a long time. Not shaking, not crying, just quiet in a way that told me she was putting something down she had carried too far. I rested my chin lightly on her hair. "Do you want to talk about it?" "No." "Do you want me to insult him creatively?" A small laugh moved against my chest. "Maybe later. I've been saving material." I know, you mutter things when you think I can't hear. That's because your ex has a very mutterable face. She tipped her head back and looked up at me. Mutterable? I stand by it. Her smile came back slowly. Then she reached behind her without looking, grabbed her phone, and powered it off. There, she said. Closure can sit in the dark for a while. I brushed my thumb along her jaw. How do you feel? Like I want tonight to be ours. Her eyes searched mine. Not a reaction to him. Not a reward for surviving something. Ours. That was the moment I understood something important. If I wanted Ava, I couldn't just be the man who appeared when someone hurt her. I had to be the man who chose her when the room was peaceful too. So I kissed her. Not to distract her, not to comfort her, because it was morning and she was standing in my hoodie with coffee on her breath and courage in her eyes, and I wanted her so badly it made my hands careful. When I pulled back, I said, "Tonight is ours." Her gaze dropped to my mouth. Good. Also, I'm going to need several hours to become dateable. You own one nice shirt. I own two. One is nice, one is ambitious. Cruel. Honest. By 7 that evening, I was wearing the nice shirt. Ava noticed immediately. She stood in the hallway in black jeans, ankle boots, and a cream sweater that slipped off one shoulder, like it had been designed by someone personally invested in my downfall. Her hair was loose this time. Her lipstick was soft red. No armor, no green dress for battle, just Ava. I forgot my keys in my hand. She gave me a slow once-over. The shirt survived. You sound surprised. I'm proud. It's different. You look... I paused. Her brows rose. Careful, Brooks. I stepped close enough to catch the vanilla scent of her shampoo. You look like my date. That did what beautiful hadn't quite done. It made her blush. Good answer, she whispered. We took separate steps out the apartment door because pretending to be normal still had a little muscle memory. Then, in the elevator, Ava reached for my hand. Her fingers slid between mine. I looked down. She looked straight ahead, smiling. Don't make it weird. I would never. You're making it weird internally. Extremely. The restaurant was small, warm, and exactly candlelit enough to make me look like I had planned it instead of panicking through like 43 online reviews. Ava sat across from me, chin in her hand, watching me study the menu. What? I asked. You're nervous. I'm reading. You're holding it upside down. I lowered the menu. She grinned. I want this to go well, I admitted. Her teasing softened. It already is. We haven't ordered. Caleb? She reached across the table and put her hand over mine. Candlelight glowed against her skin. I said yes before the appetizers. Something in my chest eased. The waiter came. We ordered too much food. Ava stole an olive from my plate and claimed it was date tax. I told her that if we were taxing things, I was claiming half her dessert. She told me she'd see me in court. Halfway through dinner, she asked, "What scared you most?" About us? She nodded. I could have made a joke. The candlelight made honesty easier and harder at the same time. That I'd lose the life we already had, I said. I liked being the person you came home to. Even when it hurt. Ava's thumb stilled against my knuckles. I was scared of the same thing, she said. You made the apartment feel safe again, but then safe became... She glanced down, smiling shyly. Not enough. I turned my hand beneath hers and laced our fingers. What do you want it to become? Her eyes lifted. Something we don't hide from. The words sat between us, clear and warm. No hiding, I said. No pretending. No dating terrible men with mutterable faces. She laughed, loud enough that the couple at the next table glanced over. Ava covered her mouth, but her eyes were bright. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't be. That's my favorite sound. Her laughter faded into something softer. You say things like that, she murmured, and then act surprised when I kiss you in hallways. For the record, I support hallway kissing. And kitchen kissing. Strongly. Elevator? Risky, but I'm open to research. She leaned across the table close enough that I could smell red wine on her breath. After dessert, she said. I nearly asked for the check immediately. We did eat dessert, mostly because Ava threatened my life when I suggested skipping it. Then I walked her home the scenic route, which involved 3 extra blocks, 1 closed bookstore window, and her hand tucked in mine the whole way. Outside our building, she stopped beneath the awning. Rain had started lightly, silvering the sidewalk and turning the street lamps hazy. "This is where you walk me to my door," she said. "Our door. Don't ruin the fantasy." I offered my arm. "Miss Martinez, may I escort you through the lobby and past the suspicious mailboxes?" She slipped her hand into the crook of my elbow. "You may." We made it as far as the elevator before she pressed the button and then turned to me with that look again, the one that had ruined me in the hallway. "Research?" she asked. The elevator doors opened. We stepped inside. I hit our floor, and before I could overthink it, Ava backed me gently against the rail and kissed me. It was slower than the night before. Less surprise, more choice. Her palms slid up my chest, mine settled at her waist. The elevator hummed upward while she kissed me like she had nowhere else to be, and for the first time, I let myself believe that maybe she didn't. When the doors opened, Mrs. Heller from 4B stood waiting with a grocery bag. Ava stepped back, lips parted, cheeks flushed. Mrs. Heller looked at us over her glasses. "Well, good for you two." Then she got in the elevator. Ava buried her face in my shoulder the second the doors closed. I laughed so hard, I had to lean against the wall. "This is your fault," she said. "My fault? You initiated peer-reviewed elevator research." "I was contributing to science." "You're very generous." She lifted her head, still blushing. "Do you think she knew?" "Ava, she once asked if we were still pretending to be just roommates while holding a casserole." "She did not." "She did." Ava groaned, then laughed, and the sound followed us to our apartment door. Inside, the place felt different. Same shoes by the mat, same plant drooping theatrically by the window, same couch with the blanket Ava always stole. But now her hand was in mine. Now the silence had possibility in it. She turned toward me in the entryway. "I don't want to go back to separate corners tonight." My pulse jumped. She saw it and squeezed my hand. "I don't mean, can we just sit? Together? Like people who are allowed to touch?" The tenderness of that almost undid me. "Yeah," I said. "We can do that." So we changed into pajamas in our separate rooms, then met on the couch like it was the most daring thing either of us had ever done. Ava wore my hoodie again. I chose not to comment because I valued my life. She curled against my side. I put my arm around her shoulders. For 20 minutes, we pretended to watch a movie neither of us could later identify. Then she tilted her face up. "Caleb?" "Yeah?" I'm glad I didn't open the door. I looked down at her, at the woman who had chosen to stay, chosen to kiss me, chosen to turn one ordinary apartment into the beginning of something. "Me too," I said. She kissed me softly, then tucked her head beneath my chin. For a while, there was nothing but the movie murmuring and the rain at the windows. Then Ava's powered-off phone, still lying on the entry table, lit up by itself. A missed call notification. Then another. She saw it at the same time I did. Her body tensed against mine. I didn't reach for it. I didn't move. Ava took a breath, then settled back into me on purpose. "Not tonight," she said. I kissed her temple. "Not tonight," I agreed. The phone lit up 3 more times before the movie ended. Ava stayed against me through all of them. I felt every tiny flinch she tried to hide, every breath she took before choosing not to reach for it. And because I was learning her, really learning her, I understood that this wasn't weakness. This was withdrawal from an old habit. For a long time, Jordan had taught her that his urgency mattered more than her peace. Now she was teaching herself the opposite. When the credits rolled, she sat up slowly. "I should look." "You don't have to." "I know." She glanced at the entry table. That's why I can." I followed her to the hallway but stopped a few feet away, close enough to be there, far enough to let it be her choice. Ava picked up the phone. Her face changed as she read, not fear, annoyance. Oh, for heaven's sake. That sounds less ominous than expected. She turned the screen toward me. Jordan had left a string of messages that began with wounded dignity and ended with the least romantic sentence I'd ever seen. You still have my camping cooler. I stared. The cooler? The cooler. The emergency was a cooler? Apparently a very emotionally significant cooler. I leaned against the wall. Does it have childhood memories inside? No, it has one broken handle and smells like lake water. Ava's mouth twitched. Then she started laughing. Not the brittle laugh she'd used when she first told me about the engagement party. Not the defensive one. A real laugh. It rose out of her like sunlight through blinds. She laughed so hard she had to set the phone down. I laughed because she was laughing and because somehow the monster at the edge of the room had turned out to be a man in formal wear demanding a plastic box. When she finally caught her breath, she wiped beneath one eye. I gave that cooler to my cousin in May. Scandalous. I hope Jordan and the cooler find peace. Do you want to answer? She looked at the phone for a long moment. Then she picked it up, typed, and showed me before sending. I don't have it. Please don't contact me again unless it's truly necessary. I'm moving forward and I wish you well. I read it twice. That's generous, I said. It's for me, not him. Then she sent it. A second later, she blocked his number. The apartment didn't change. No thunder, no choir, no dramatic shift in the lighting. But Ava did. She set the phone down, turned to me, and slipped her arms around my neck. I feel lighter, she whispered. I held her waist. Good. And a little ridiculous. Also good. And very aware that we still have half a date night movie to ignore. I smiled. Is that an invitation? It's a warning. She kissed me before I could answer. There was relief in it, but not only relief. There was choice. Heat. Her fingers at the back of my neck, my hands at her hips. The quiet, astonishing fact that no one was waiting downstairs, no old story was pulling her away, and no door needed opening except the one between what we had been and what we were becoming. We went back to the couch. This time, we didn't pretend to watch anything. We talked until 2 in the morning, about boundaries and rent, and what would happen if we fought, about how neither of us wanted to rush just because we already knew which cabinet held the coffee filters. Ava admitted she was afraid people would think she had just replaced one man with another. I told her anyone who thought that didn't know her. She touched my cheek and said, "You make it very difficult to be cynical." I apologize. No, you don't. No, I don't. She smiled, then grew serious. I'm choosing this, Caleb. Not because you're convenient. Not because you're here. Because you're you. That ruined me a little, so I told her the truth I'd been carrying since the green dress split my life into before and after. I'm in love with you. Her eyes filled instantly. I panicked. Too soon? No, she shook her head, laughing through the tears. Terrible timing. Very you. I can take it back temporarily. Don't you dare. She climbed into my lap like she had every right to be there, and maybe she did. Her hands framed my face, soft and trembling. I'm in love with you too, she said. I think I have been for a while. I was just scared to name it. Since the pizza? Absolutely not. You were eating over the sink like a raccoon. A handsome raccoon? A concerning raccoon. I laughed, and she kissed me quiet. That night, we fell asleep on the couch tangled under one blanket, her head over my heart and my hand resting on her back. I woke once before dawn to the blue hush of the apartment and the weight of her beside me. For the first time in years, home didn't feel like a place I kept tidy for survival. It felt like a person breathing softly against me. By the following spring, Ava and I had become terrible at pretending we were only roommates. Mrs. Heller from 4B brought us another casserole and said, "For the happy couple," then winked so aggressively I worried about her eye. Ava took over half my closet one sweater at a time and claimed it was natural migration. I learned not to put bowls on the bottom rack. She learned that my client call face did not mean I was mad, only that someone had asked for a logo that felt more whispery. We still moved slowly in the ways that mattered. She kept her room for a while, then one night, after a long shift at the bakery, she stood in my doorway wearing fuzzy socks and my gray hoodie and said, "This is stupid." "What is?" "Having two beds when I only want to sleep in one." I lifted the blanket. She climbed in. No grand speech, no dramatic music, just her cold toes finding my leg and my heart doing that foolish, loyal thing it did whenever she chose me. A year after the green dress, I came home to find Ava standing barefoot in the hallway again. Different dress this time. Soft blue, summer light, her hair pinned up badly because she had no patience for pins. She turned in front of the mirror. "Too much?" I set down my keys. "Some moments return to you, but kinder." I walked to her slowly. She watched me in the mirror, already smiling. "You look beautiful," I said. Her eyes warmed. "You didn't mean the dress." "No," I said, wrapping my arms around her from behind. "I never do." She leaned back against me, laughing softly, and our reflection looked nothing like an accident. It looked like the life we had built from one honest sentence, one unopened door, one burned sandwich, and the courage to stop pretending. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, Ava took my hand and held it against her heart. And this time, neither of us looked away. What would you have done if your roommate walked out in that dress, asked if it was too much, and you realized your answer wasn't about the dress at all? Have you ever experienced something like that where one honest moment changed a relationship? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next